Democrats voted to block a clean federal funding bill, H.R. 5371, leading to a government shutdown that is preventing the U.S. Small Business Administration from serving America's 36 million small businesses.
Almost immediately following the failed vote to pass a federal budget bill and the subsequent shutting down of the government at midnight Tuesday, messages started popping up on government websites and, as you heard, on outgoing messages. Most began with the same opening line, quote, "The radical left Democrats shut down the government," end quote. And depending on which side of the aisle you stand, that statement either tracks or is wildly untrue. But the broader discussion might be, do these postings and messages violate the Hatch Act? The Hatch Act was passed in 1939, born out of the New Deal, when Works Progress Administration employees were getting pressured into working on campaigns of FDR political allies. You like the job the government just created for you? Well, how about you start showing it? It was kind of the sentiment. So a New Mexico Democrat, Senator Carl Hatch, came up with some rules for federal employees to limit political activities while on the job. The point is to ensure federal programs are run in a nonpartisan fashion. Senator Hatch called it an act to prevent pernicious activities. And the Oxford Dictionary defines pernicious as having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way. Well, there's been nothing subtle about what we've seen on several government websites the past couple of days.
Every day that Senate Democrats continue opposing a clean funding bill.
From the Small Business Administration to the Department of Housing and Urban Development to the Justice Department, government websites are putting the blame for the government shutdown on one political party.
The spirit of the law is that you shouldn't be mixing sort of overtly political or partisan advocacy in your speech with your official capacity as a member of the United States government.
The Hatch Act applies to people and agencies, according to Boise State political science professor Dr. Charles Hunt.
It's not often that folks are, really taken to task or overtly fired or something for violating the Hatch Act. It's usually just kind of a slap on the wrist.
Enacted in 1939,
those slaps on the wrist are supposed to be handed down by the Office of the Special Counsel
in order to preserve the nonpartisan administration of federal programs.
An investigative agency of the federal government that's supposed to be independent.
I mean, one of the issues that we're sort of facing this time is that the head of the Office of the Special Counsel was dismissed by President Trump earlier this term and has been replaced with an ally of his. That's one area where you might say, okay, Trump is, and the administration is not likely to get in trouble for any of these recent violations.
That's assuming they are a violation. Have you seen some of the things that have been posted on these agencies' websites?
Yes. Some of these more explicit blaming of Democrats in Congress specifically.
The Housing and Urban Development. The radical left in Congress shut down the government. HUD will use available resources to help Americans in need.
Right.
The DOJ. Democrats have shut down the government. Department of Justice websites are not currently regularly updated. The Forest Service. The radical left Democrats shut down the government. The USDA, due to the radical left Democrat shutdown. The CDC. Mission-critical activities will continue during the Democrat-led government shutdown. And this from the Boise office of the SBA.
Every day that Senate Democrats continue opposing a clean funding bill, they are stopping an estimated 320 small businesses from accessing $170 million in SBA guaranteed funding.
And as soon as the shutdown is over, we are prepared to immediately return to the record-breaking services we were providing under the leadership of the Trump administration.
All right, there you have it.
What do you think of that?
I have a couple of reactions. I mean, number one is that it's, they say Senate Democrats. A Republican, Rand Paul, also voted against the continuation of the spending bill. So aside from not technically being correct, that's, to me, that's something that at the very least gets right up to the line of what the Hatch Act, of what would be a violation of the Hatch Act. The inclusion of the party label, I think, is the potential big problem there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the Hatch Act is supposed to ensure federal programs are administered in a nonpartisan way.
That's the ultimate spirit of the law. Part of the purpose of it is to instill trust that the government is serving all Americans equally and that they are seeing the entirety of the country as their constituency. If you put out a message like that, it is not likely to instill confidence among Americans who say don't support Donald Trump that the SBA is going to be looking out for their interests, right? And so that's another purpose of the law, is to make sure that Americans feel that trust from the federal government.
So right up to the line, according to Dr. Hunt, but maybe not crossing it. Naming the Democrats may not be a violation, but putting the blame directly on them, well, that could be. Several national news sources have reported the SBA and the Department of Labor issued suggested out-of-office reply emails for those furloughed employees that put the blame on the Senate Democrats for the shutdown. But at least they were given, those employees, they were given the option to use it or not. According to NBC News, Department of Education employees had their automatic replies manipulated without their permission. Hatch Act violations have been issued a few times over the past few administrations, like the warning issued to President Biden's press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, and the OSC recommending Kellyanne Conway be fired in Trump's first term for violating the Hatch Act dozens of times. A Hatch Act complaint has been filed, by the way, this week by watchdog group Public Citizen. But as you heard Dr. Hunt say, any investigation or prosecution is at the discretion of the Office of the Special Counsel. And based on what he's seen over the last 9 to 10 months, Dr. Hunt says this administration has shown they're not really keen on bowing to public pressure.